Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Elliot Grigg. We are once again in preview mode. Emanuel Navarrete, Oscar Valdez rematch we are going to discuss here. Some WBO World Super Featherweight title action at the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, Saturday the 7th of December. And as I mentioned, it is a rematch of the fight that happened, a year or two ago now with Navarrete beating Oscar Valdez via unanimous decision back in September 2023. The rematch is on for one reason or another. The WBO World Super Featherweight title is on the line as well. And it's a fight I'm looking forward to. Before we come on to it, please do like this video, drop us a subscribe on the channel, all your boxing needs under one roof, and let us know in the comments what we're about to discuss. Elliot, as I mentioned, this is a rematch. We'll come on to our predictions and maybe discuss this fight out a little bit later on in this video. What I want to know first is, we've discussed at length before. I think you've been fairly high on Emmanuel Navarrete a couple of times as well, but he's had those couple of defeats recently. But do you think that on his day, Emmanuel Navarrete is the best super featherweight in the world?
Oh, not broken me gently there at all, Paul. Thank you very much as always for having me on here. I think you know what, Paul, I'm going to give a fairly short answer to this, and the answer to that question is going to be yes. I think you look at I suppose you look at Navarrete's record. I can see you're looking a bit incredulously at me there. You look at his record, his recent record, I suppose. He's got obviously a lost to Branchik up at lightweight, the draw with Conceição. We kind of don't. In some ways, you kind of think I don't know what I'm going to expect from Navarrete when he steps into the ring. Sometimes I feel like on his day, yeah, it's like best part in the division, super featherweight division on his day. But equally, if it's not on his day, he can look obviously levels below that. But for me, I look at the division. I look at some of the champions in that division. Foster, CACACE. Valdez himself, obviously, that he's fighting here is ranked highly, isn't he? In obviously ring rankings and the several governing bodies as well. And I still feel that against those guys, I'd still back Navarrete. To be honest with you, I still think he's got enough in there. And obviously, he carries power. 31 stoppages and 38 wins, 29 now. It's quite big at the weight as well. Like quite a tall guy, quite long levers as well. So for me, I still have him. I have him with all the attributes to still be number one in that division. Yeah. How about yourself?
Interesting. Yeah, I can't say with any confidence that he is the best at the minute. He could be, but I think he has to prove it to me personally. I think I'm glad. First and foremost, I want to say I'm glad to see him fighting at super featherweight. He did obviously move up to lightweight last time out and got beat by Dennis Berinchik. He's not a lightweight. He might be a lightweight in another year or two, Navarrete, but I think that was maybe just laziness, in my opinion, not making the weight. I'm glad to see him at super feather again. I think that it's hard to say, really, isn't it? Like, is he number one? Because there's no unified champions or anything here. There's fairly relatively new champions as well. The belts have changed hands quite a lot recently in this division. There's not one fighter who I think you could say, yeah, he's the best. You've obviously got, Ray Ford's come up now from featherweight to super feather. A lot of people had him potentially even beating Nick Ball in that fight before moving up. He looks really good, looks big at the weight still as well. Lee Wood hasn't fought there yet. Josh Warrington might be coming up, whether or not they fight each other. Lee Wood was regarded as one of the best featherweights before moving up. Haven't seen him at super feather, so it might not translate up the weight divisions, but who knows? I can't say with any confidence that he's the best now. But I do think he's definitely up there on his day. As we've mentioned, Navarrete is hard to stop on his day. It's just a matter of if he's going to be on his day or not. But like as we mentioned before, Teofimo Lopez, you kind of don't know what version of Navarrete you're going to get here. But yeah, the best version of him is top three for me, which kind of leads me on to my next question, mate. If Navarrete's obviously beaten Valdez and he'll be the favourite for this one. If you do have him, I know you have. Well, suppose you have him as the number one, so I kind of know the answer to this question. But I want you to tell me how he fares against the names that we've mentioned: Anto Cacace, O'Shaki Foster, Ray Ford, Lee Wood. I'm going to assume you think he beats them all, but does he stop them all? Is there any close fights? How do those fights go?
A very tough question, Paul. Thank you very much for asking. I say that sarcastically. No, I think, let's take him in turn. So Shaki Foster, 23-3, so 3 losses on his record. Not got not the biggest puncher, quite a slick boxer, but not the biggest puncher. Obviously, as you look at the commonality in opponents, he came through that and he lost a split decision to Conceição and got a split decision against Conceição. So in some ways, like a good fight. I think I still have Navarrete beating Paul. I think Navarrete might even stop him. I really do. I really think that. But I do see that as a fairly comfortable victory actually for Navarrete. The one that stands out and I'll talk about for me is actually Anthony CACACE. Anthony CACACE is quite a surprising opponent for me. I think you put him in with like Cordina. That was a surprising win. Then you put him with Warrington, points win there as well. A lot of people obviously saying, that Warrington may be on the slide somewhat, but I think Warrington, that might be premature. Warrington's had some tough fights against some good opponents. So it might be a bit premature to also say that he's kind of washed in boxing partners. So that's a good victory for me, to be honest, with Vanity Catches. I think that'd be a close fight, I really do. I think Kakacha, like 8K, that one's either Kakacha points, isn't it? Or that's how he's going to win that fight, or maybe Navarrete gets him. I still think Navarrete would have a little bit too much for him. I don't think he'd stop him, but I think he'd outpoint him. I think for me, Ray Ford again, good fighter, obviously. The Nick Ball split decision loss there, but other names on there like Magdaleno. Not a bad fighter, but again, I think maybe a bit premature in his career, possibly to fight someone like Navarrete. What he says, like 17 fights, maybe needs a few more fights. Not the biggest puncher either, so necessarily keep Navarrete off him. I think Navarrete would beat him, might even stop him, but I think it maybe go points. And Lee Wood, the man Lee Wood. Oh man, who knows what could happen here? This is up there with Kakachi for me. Lee Wood on his day, that we saw Lee Wood, obviously, in that rematch where he boxed beautifully, didn't he? We've seen his boxing ability, we've seen his heavy-handed as well. So for me, I actually give Lee Wood and Navarrete be a hell of a fight, and that'd be the one that I'd want to see. I have all these names you mentioned. Like I said, the Lara Lee Wood, the Lara Lee Wood that boxed and moved could give Navarrete problems. So for me, that'd be close, but I would probably edge slightly towards Navarrete based on Lee Wood's kind of inactivity and recent comparative inactivity. I don't even know what Lee Wood's got now at this stage out of the ring, so you might see a tune-up fight there. But I'd lean just slightly towards Navarrete, but equally I wouldn't be surprised if Lee Wood wins. What about yourself, Paul? You are a big Lee Wood fan, obviously a big Anthony Kakacha fan. You might even be a closet of Shaki Foster fan. I don't know, Paul, but how are you seeing these fights playing out?
Yeah, made a few interesting ones there. I think the Ando Kakachi fight's a close one, tough one to call. I agree with you. I think the best Navarrete beats Oshaki Foster. I think Ray Ford beats Navarrete. I think I'm not going against Lee Wood, am I? Let's be honest. Lee Wood stops him behind on the cards and pulls out another Michael Conlan-esque knockout in the 12th round. Ando Kakachi, it's a tough one as well, mate. I don't know. I think the best version of Navarrete does, and it pains me to say that to get to my fellow countrymen, but you know, that best version of Navarrete we keep talking about, is it still there? Is that gone? Who knows? Who knows? I think there's quite a lot of good fights that I do want to see at Super Featherweight. So yeah, with Navarrete involved in them as well. So yeah, fingers crossed they happen. But they might not happen if he's not to beat Oscar Valdez on Saturday, 7th of December here in the Footprint Center in Phoenix. It's the rematch. Navarrete won the first one, quite a wide unanimous decision a year ago in September 2023. But how does the rematch play out, Elliot?
You know what, Paul? I think the rematch plays out for me in a similar fashion. To be honest, I know that both these guys have combined have got quite a high knockout percentage. I think Valdez 24 and 32 or something. So, and we spoke about Navarrete's 31 and 38. I think it was said earlier in the video. So both quite high, both big punches. But I also feel like both good enough to not be stopped either by the opponent. So for me, I actually think Navarrete is going to win this again. I think he's going to win it on points. Will he win it as wide as the last one? The last one was wide, like you said. It was like, I think I look at the scorecards earlier. One guy 119, 109, 118, 110, then 116, 112, obviously a bit tighter. Will it be that wide? Not convinced it'll be that wide. But I think definitely not the sort of 119 sort of wide. But I do think it'll be fairly sort of 7-5, 8-4. Again, Navarrete, I think he'll be kind of control the fight, win it on points, to be honest with you.
Yeah, mate, can't disagree. I think we're 2 for 2 for this weekend. Obviously, an agreement on our Liam Paro, Richardson Hitchens predictions as well. So please do check that video out as well if you haven't done so already. I agree with you. Unanimous decision for Emanuel Navarrete. Don't think he's going to stop Oscar Valdez. Valdez only 2 defeats, obviously, to Shakur Stevenson and then Navarrete that year ago, as I mentioned. Neither by stop. It's just both wide unanimous decisions. I think it'll be a convincing win for Navarrete, but at the same time, I don't think it'll be, as you said, like a really a wide 10-2 kind of thing. Maybe I'm more see an 8-4, 9-3 maybe, but yeah, 8-4 is kind of where my head's at for in favor of Emmanuel Navarrete. So yeah, that's how I see this one going, mate. I'm glad we agree. Also on this card is Rafael Espinoza and Fabricio Ramirez rematch. So please stick around to check out the preview we've done on that. Let us know in the comments what you think about this fight and all of the other ones and the questions that we discussed about the super featherweight landscape. Elliot, thanks very much for joining me, mate. I'll catch you again sometime soon.
Thank you very much, Paul. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.